Islam Makhachev deserves a ton of credit. And apparently you guys are not giving him any. To the point that he doesn't even deserve to be number one pound for pound in the world. Islam Makhachev flew all the way to Australia to fight the number one pound for pound fighter in the world. And he beat him. And he doesn't even deserve to be number one pound for pound. I mean, he fought a guy like Volkanovski to become number one pound for pound. How rare is it to see a guy challenge the number one pound for pound fighter to actually become number one pound for pound? Alexander Volkanovski didn't become number one pound for pound because he beat the number one pound for pound. It was because Kamaru Usman got head kicked by Leon Edwards and lost his number one pound for pound ranking. Volkanovski immediately slid right in Kamaru Usman's previous position. Islam Makhachev had a different idea. He wanted to beat the number one guy in the world to become the number one guy in the world. How rare is that to see? Most guys don't do that. Most guys, when they actually do that, they don't even succeed. They don't succeed. It's so rare to see this happen, where a guy challenged the number one pound for pound to become number one pound for pound, that it only happened once in UFC history. Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski. That is the only time that happened, where the number one pound for pound lost to the guy, and that guy that he lost to became number one pound for pound. And Islam Makhachev did it in enemy territory. He did it in enemy territory. I mean, there's so many advantages there. Volkanovski has been living and breathing that Australian oxygen. It's so humid over there. But in Dagestan, it's so cold. Right? It's so it's the difference of the temperature is quite literally night and day. It's quite literally night and day. And being in enemy territory, that's a lot of disadvantages. If you're fighting a guy in enemy territory, that's a ton of disadvantages. Whenever the guy is having moments, whenever the guy's landing shots, the crowd goes, "Oh! Ah!" And that can sway a judge's opinion. And it gives you a very different level of confidence when you're fighting in home turf. Volkanovski showed that he had that confidence. Because fighting in home turf gives you a ton of advantages. It makes you believe in yourself. It makes you believe that it's your night. That this is your crowning moment in front of your people, in front of the fans. They're coming to see you win, that it's your moment. It's your night. Ton of self-confidence that it can give you. It's almost a superpower. And Islam, knowing this, because his last fight before Volkanovski was at Abu Dhabi, he felt that power. And he decided, how about I fight in enemy territory? Khabib had that great idea that Islam Makhachev should fight Volkanovski in Australia, in enemy territory. The moment that Islam tapped out Oliveira, he got on the microphone, called out Volkanovski. He challenged himself. He's the one that called out Volkanovski. And he said he's going to do it in Australia. I'm going to do it where you're comfortable, where the fans are cheering for you, where the fans are coming to see you win. Tons of disadvantages that Islam didn't even care about. He had that idea to fight in Australia. And he won. And he's not even being credited. He doesn't deserve to be number one pound for pound. I mean, how are you Are you even hearing yourself? Islam Makhachev doesn't deserve to be number one pound for pound. He fought the number one guy in the world to become pound for pound. Most guys don't even do that. Volkanovski didn't do that. Kamaru Usman lost his pound for pound number one ranking, so then Volkanovski became number one pound for pound. Volkanovski didn't fight Kamaru Usman. Islam fought Volkanovski to become number one pound for pound, and he won. He doesn't deserve to be pound for pound number one. I mean, that's ludicrous. That's silly talk. You're not gonna give him any credit. He said he was going to strike with one of the best strikers in the UFC. Freddie Roach, Manny Pacquiao's boxing coach, said that I don't know about who's the best boxer in the UFC, but I do know that Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor, and Max Holloway are up there. And Volkanovski dominated Max Holloway. I mean, oh my goodness, that cut above Max Holloway's eye, that was nasty. That guy that did that to Max Holloway 3 times will now be fighting a guy, a wrestler, that said he's gonna strike with him. I mean, Islam Makhachev had a lot more success in the stand-up than Volkanovski's past opponents. I've never seen Volkanovski get dropped by his past opponents. Yet, Islam Makhachev doesn't get any credit, doesn't deserve to be number one pound for pound. Even though he won, even though he got the nod. That's crazy. I'm completely baffled. This guy fought in enemy territory, knowing that Volkanovski truly carries that flag, that Australian flag on his back, that he gets motivated by that kind of thing, where he's fighting in front of the crowd, where he's fighting in front of his people. Islam Makhachev knew that he's fighting on Australia. Very different temperature over there. Knowing that the judges' opinions would be swayed when the masses go, ooh, ah, when Volkanovski gets up. And he didn't care. He even said he's gonna strike with Volkanovski. He succeeded. He succeeded in those things. He won. Yet he doesn't deserve any credit. Doesn't deserve to be number one pound for pound. That is the silliest thing I've ever heard.